Okay, let's unpack this. What if everything you perceive, every object, every thought, maybe even time itself isn't just made of something, but actually is information?
It sounds pretty wild, doesn't it?
Totally. And what if that information is, more fundamental than either mind or matter? It's a really radical idea, but it seems to be gaining some serious traction now at the cutting edge of physics and philosophy.
Right. You've got people like John Archibald Wheeler, a giant in physics.
His famous slogan, "It from bit."
Exactly. Suggesting that every physical it somehow emerges from these fundamental bits of information.
And then on the philosophy side, you have thinkers like David Chalmers exploring how information might actually be the basis of consciousness, his double aspect theory.
Yeah, where an informational state has like two sides.
Yeah.
A physical one you can see from the outside and an inner experiential one.
So our mission today, our deep dive, is into two frameworks that are exploring exactly this. They're complex, no doubt, but maybe profoundly interconnected.
We're talking relational quantum dynamics, RQD for short.
And something called Holoinformational monism.
Big words. But the goal is a unified picture, where physical stuff and conscious experience aren't separate things at all.
But maybe two complementary aspects of one single informational reality. So this deep dive, hopefully, will give you a shortcut to understanding these ideas.
Yeah, maybe some surprising facts, some aha moments connecting quantum physics, consciousness.
And really the nature of existence itself.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive in.
Where should we start? RQD.
Yeah, let's kick things off with relational quantum dynamics, RQD. So as you mentioned, it builds on Carlo Rovelli's work, relational quantum mechanics, RQM.
Right, and RQM's core idea is pretty revolutionary in itself.
It is. It basically says quantum states, properties, they aren't just objectively there.
They're not absolute.
Exactly. They're only defined through interactions and relative to other systems.
Like the classic Wigner's friend thought experiment.
Right. The friend inside the lab measures something, gets a definite result.
For them, it's settled.
But for Wigner, outside the lab, before they communicate, the friend and the system could still be in this fuzzy superposition.
Yeah, and RQM says both descriptions are actually valid relative to their observer.
Which means reality isn't static. It's not just a collection of things.
It's this dynamic network, constantly unfolding interactions. Events are the basic elements, not fixed properties.
So it shifts everything from things to relationships. The universe as a verb, not a noun.
And what's really key in RQD is this relational information principle.
Okay, what's that about?
It's not just that information describes reality. The idea is that information is the physical state defining the relationship.
So, like an electron, it doesn't just have a spin on its own.
Not in itself, no. It only gets a definite spin relative to the measuring apparatus or whatever it just interacted with.
Okay. And RQD takes that even further.
It does. It suggests these quantum interactions are not just, physical bumps, they're awareness updates.
Awareness updates. That sounds significant.
It is. Primitive exchanges of information that really start to blur the line between observer and observed.
Like every interaction is a tiny bit of mutual sensing.
That's a good way to put it, a mutual update.
That leads to the big question, though. Does a rock hitting the ground have some kind of awareness update? How far down does this go?
Right, and that's exactly where RQD gets really interesting, because it explicitly brings consciousness into the picture. By integrating Giulio Tononi's integrated information theory, IIT.
IIT. I've heard a lot about that. Quantifying consciousness.
Sort of. It gives us two key measures. First, there's quantum mutual information. Let's call it I.
Okay. I. What does that measure?
It quantifies how much shared information or correlation exists between systems after they interact. Like how much they now know about each other.
Like Indra's net, those jewels reflecting each other?
Exactly like that. It shows the degree of reflection, the shared knowledge.
Okay. And the second measure?
That's integrated information, usually shown as I or phi.
Phi. And that measures?
That measures how much a system is truly an indivisible, unified whole. Not just a sum of parts, but something that loses its essence if you break it down.
So I is about shared info between things, and phi is about how unified one thing is internally. How does RQD put them together?
Well, it proposes that the depth, or maybe the significance of one of these awareness updates,
The mutual sensing.
is proportional to the mutual information exchanged times the integrated information the systems involved.
I times phi. Okay. So more shared info and more unified systems lead to a deeper interaction experience.
Essentially, yes. And the crucial point is, there's no hard line. No fundamental split between a physical interaction and an experience.
They're just two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. Extrinsic versus intrinsic descriptions of the same relational event. What it looks like from outside versus what it feels like from inside for the systems involved.
Wow. Okay. So maybe we can summarize the core principles of RQD. There are 5, right?
Yeah, 5 main ones that kind of reshape how we see things.
First, observer relativity of states. We touched on this. Quantum states are contextual.
Not absolute, depends on the interaction.
Second, temporal emergence. Time isn't fundamental.
Right, it emerges, frame by frame almost, from the sequence of these quantum interactions.
Like a movie being created, not just played.
That's a decent analogy. The flow isn't pre-given.
Third, spatial emergence. Space also isn't fundamental.
It's constructed from entanglement patterns. How strongly things are connected informationally defines how close they are.
So not a container, but a web of connections.
Precisely. Fourth, observer emergence. Observers aren't special.
Not just humans.
No. Any system with high integrated information, hi-fi, acts as an observer. Its complexity allows a unified perspective to emerge. A Geiger counter, in its own way, integrates information.
Okay, and fifth.
Classical reality via decoherence. The solid world we see emerges as quantum fuzziness gets averaged out through countless interactions.
So wave function collapse is just an awareness update, information being shared.
That's the reinterpretation, yeah. It becomes less mysterious.
And you mentioned a 6th principle as well.
Ah, yes. Crucial one. Ontic structural realism.
Ontic, meaning about reality itself.
Right. It says structures and relations are what's fundamentally real, not objects.
There's electrons, tables.
Yeah.
They're secondary.
They're stable patterns of relations. Like a whirlpool is a pattern in water, not a separate thing. Or a team is the relationships and plays, not just the players.
That helps avoid everything becoming completely relative, right? It grounds it in structure.
Exactly. It keeps the relativity but avoids an anything goes scenario.
So what really makes RQD different from Rovelli's original RQM? It's this explicit inclusion of consciousness, right? This underlying field of awareness.
That's the big leap, yes. RQM tried to be metaphysically neutral. RQD steps right into it.
Into panpsychist or idealist ideas?
You could say that.
Yeah.
It suggests this informational background, this field, is what grounds all the relative facts. And that makes quantum events not just physical, but actual experiences.
Again, not human-like experiences in an electron.
No. More like a proto-consciousness. A minimal intrinsic aspect. Whitehead's idea of every event having a physical and mental pole fits well here.
It's a bold claim. Consciousness is fundamental, not just an emergent property of complex brains.
Very bold. It suggests the basis of experience is woven into the fabric of reality from the start.
But where does this field of awareness actually come from? Is there a bigger picture here?
Well, that leads us perfectly into the philosophical side, into Holoinformational Monism.
Okay, so RQD gives us the quantum physics angle. Now, Holoinformational Monism, HIM. What's the grand vision there?
HIM is more of a philosophical worldview, kind of synthesizing a bunch of ideas.
And the central idea is?
The central tenet is that reality, fundamentally, is just one unified thing, a hollow informational field.
Hollow informational, meaning?
Meaning it's intrinsically informational in nature, and like a hologram, the whole is sort of reflected in the parts. Mono meaning one, that's a monism, one fundamental substance, which is information.
Where does it get these ideas from?
It pulls from various places we've touched on. Wheeler's It from Bit, definitely. IET's ideas about integrated information.
Okay.
Also, quantum monism, the physics idea that the whole universe might be described by a single quantum state, and cosmopsychism.
The idea, the cosmos itself is conscious.
In some sense, yeah. And holographic principles from physics, too.
Yeah.
The whole encoded in the parts.
So the core concept is information is fundamental, and it has two sides.
Exactly. Physical phenomena, the stuff we see and measure, that's the extrinsic relational pattern of the information. The bit side, the outward face.
And consciousness.
Consciousness is the intrinsic, integrated aspect of that same information. The it side, the inner feeling, the experience.
So it's very much like Chalmers' double aspect idea. Same stuff, two viewpoints.
Precisely. Information seen from the outside is physics. Information seen or felt from the inside is experience.
So how do we get all the separate things we see? You, me, chairs, planets.
The idea is that this apparent multiplicity, all these separate minds and objects, they arise from local differences within this single field.
Like whirlpools in a stream. They look distinct, but they're just patterns in one flow of water.
Exactly. Or like fragments of a hologram, each is a differentiated part, but still connected to the whole pattern.
Sure.
This general view is gaining ground. Thinkers like Bernardo Kastrup, Philip Goff, they're exploring similar territory.
Okay, so we have RQD, the quantum physics of relations and awareness updates, and HIM, the philosophy of one unified informational field. What happens when we put them together?
That's where it gets really powerful. You see this striking convergence.
Between the science and the philosophy?
Yeah. Both are saying, forget separate mind and matter. The fundamental reality is information and relations. They completely reject substance dualism.
And RQD's underlying field of awareness. That sounds a lot like HIM's single experiential field.
It really does. It's like RQD is providing the physics for HIM's metaphysics, and something like quantum entanglement, which is so central to RQD.
Where particles stay connected.
That becomes a perfect example, a concrete manifestation of the undivided wholeness that Monism talks about. It's like seeing Indra's net in action in the lab.
And you mentioned IIT's Phi, integrated information within RQD. How does that fit the monism?
Well, Phi quantifies how much a system is an irreducible whole. That directly supports the monistic idea that the universe isn't just bits and pieces added up, it's fundamentally integrated.
So RQD gives a kind of physics-based backbone to holoinformational monism.
I think that's a fair way to put it. It provides a rigorous quantum information language where the universe really does look like one interconnected informational web.
What are the biggest payoffs of thinking this way, this combined RQD-HIM view?
Well, it offers a coherent way to see quantum mechanics, consciousness, and even space-time as just different aspects of one underlying informational reality.
Okay.
Every event, every interaction have that intrinsic side, the experience for the systems involved, and the extrinsic side, the measurable outcome.
And this dual aspect view helps with the big problems, like the hard problem of consciousness.
Proponents would say yes. Phenomenal experience is just the intrinsic nature of integrated information. It's not something mysteriously added to the physics. It is the inner view of the physics.
And the measurement problem in quantum mechanics, the collapse.
It gets reframed too. It's not a collapse, it's an information update. An elementary experience or mutual awareness event happening between the systems.
And how do we end up agreeing on reality? If it's all relational, how do we avoid just everyone having their own separate reality? Solipsism.
Through information exchange, we interact, we correlate our perspectives. That's how intersubjective reality emerges. We build a shared map by constantly updating each other.
Makes sense. And entanglement is key to this unity.
Absolutely. It's like the threads connecting everything in this informational fabric. The quantum version of IIT even defines Phi in terms of entanglement, how far a state is from being separable.
So more entanglement can mean more potential for integration, for unified experience.
That's the link, yes. Think about split-brain patients. When the connection, the integration between hemispheres is cut.
You can get two separate streams of consciousness.
Exactly. It shows how breaking informational unity can fragment experience.
And observer participation is crucial for linking the inner and outer aspects.
Yes. Every interaction is a kind of mutual sensing. The observer isn't special, it's just any place where information gets integrated.
So Wheeler's observer participancy fits right in. We're not just watching the universe.
We're part of its process of observing itself, a core monistic idea, the universe becoming aware of itself through its parts.
Okay, this is a huge, ambitious picture, but it must raise some tough questions. What are the main challenges or criticisms?
Oh, definitely. There are quite a few.
For me, one that jumps out is still that combination problem. If tiny bits of reality have proto-consciousness, how do they combine into my single unified consciousness? It still feels a bit fuzzy.
It's a classic challenge for any view like this, absolutely. The response, often drawing on IIT, involves the exclusion principle.
Exclusion principle.
Yeah. The idea is that a system either forms one integrated whole at a particular level, or it remains as multiple separate wholes. It can't be both simultaneously at the same scale.
So when my brain integrates information to a high degree,
that integrated whole emerges, and the proto-consciousness of the individual neurons, or whatever the lower level is, gets subsumed. They lose their independent observer status in favor of the larger unified experience.
like the orchestra analogy. Individual players contribute, but the symphony is the integrated experience.
Exactly. So it's not just summing up tiny minds. It's about new, higher levels of integrated information emerging and taking precedence. This helps avoid solipsism gone mad. There are multiple observers, differentiated parts, but they exist within an objective shared reality based on information exchange.
Okay, that addresses the combination issue somewhat. What about scientific skepticism? Is this just philosophy or is it testable? Adding awareness to physics. Doesn't that sound unfalsifiable?
That's a very fair criticism.
Hmm.
And testability is key. The argument is that this framework doesn't actually change the standard predictions of quantum mechanics for everyday experiments.
So it doesn't predict electrons will behave differently.
Not in the standard ways, no.
Yep.
But it does suggest new kinds of predictions, especially at the intersection of physics, biology, and consciousness.
Like what?
Like looking for specific signatures of high integrated information, phi, or particular entanglement patterns in biological systems that correlate strongly with conscious states, or potentially in advanced AI.
And you mentioned the PCI, Perturbational Complexity Index.
Right. That's used in neuroscience. It measures something related to phi by stimulating the brain and seeing how complex the response is. And it works pretty well at distinguishing conscious from unconscious states, like in sleep or anesthesia.
So that's an indirect test.
It's an indirect validation, yeah. The argument is also that this framework might actually be simpler metaphysically, Occam's razor. Instead of two fundamental things, mind and matter, you have one, information. And it doesn't violate known physics like locality or conservation laws. Consciousness doesn't magically push particles around. It is the intrinsic side of their interactions.
And does it require quantum mechanics for consciousness? Or just for the fundamental level?
Fundamentally, everything is quantum. But for big systems like brains, it likely reduces to a more classical version of IIT, which aligns with current neuroscience. So quantum effects might be crucial at the base level, but not necessarily for macro-level consciousness.
Okay, so if this framework holds up, even partially, the implications seem huge across many fields.
Absolutely profound. For fundamental physics, it points towards unifying quantum mechanics and gravity, maybe seeing space-time emerge from entanglement, like EPR suggests.
Entanglement equals wormholes, basically.
Sort of, yeah. Space-time geometry from quantum connections. It also offers this monistic view of quantum mechanics without needing many worlds, and makes ontic structural realism concrete.
And for neuroscience and cognitive science?
It provides a potential bridge between brain activity and subjective experience, supporting IIT's search for neural correlates of consciousness. It might even guide research into looking for subtle quantum effects in the brain.
Like in microtubules or Roger Penrose's ideas?
Potentially, or maybe in other complex molecules. And importantly, it gives a principled way, using phi, to think about and potentially measure consciousness in AI.
Not just based on behavior, but on internal structure.
Exactly. And then for philosophy of mind and metaphysics.
The mind-body problem.
It offers a potential resolution via this dual-aspect monism. No hard separation. It also gives us new ways to think about cosmology, the universe, as maybe evolving toward higher integration, higher consciousness, humans as the universe waking up.
It really challenges standard physicalism, doesn't it? By saying the physical itself has an intrinsic experiential dimension.
It expands what we mean by physical, exactly.
And it even lets us think about really out there ideas like mind melds.
As potentially representing states of extremely high integrated information between systems, yeah. And it connects nicely to older ideas, like Indra's net, this feeling of interconnectedness. It even suggests time's arrow might be linked to the accumulation of these experience moments.
Okay, this is fascinating, but we need to ground it. You mentioned testability. Can we be more concrete about experiments? This isn't just speculation, right?
No, the goal is definitely to move beyond speculation. There are concrete research avenues. One is trying to actually measure integrated information, phi, in controlled quantum systems.
Like with qubits in a quantum computer.
Exactly. Design entangled states and try to measure their phi. See if quantum integration behaves as predicted. You could even design more complex quantum observer tests, pushing Wigner's friend scenarios further in the lab.
Okay, that's physics. What about biology?
Correlating quantum processes with consciousness in the brain. That means looking for real quantum effects in specific neural molecules. Maybe things like Posner molecules, which have been proposed. Or seeing if quantum coherence changes measurably between conscious and unconscious states, perhaps during anesthesia.
And using those clinical measures like PCI.
Yes, continuing to refine and use measures like PCI as practical proxies for phi in humans and animals.
What about AI?
Definitely. Conscious AI and computing. We could try to calculate or estimate phi for current sophisticated AI models, and maybe even design AI specifically to maximize phi to see if that leads to more holistic, integrated, perhaps even arguably conscious behavior.
That's a big one. And cosmology.
That's more speculative, of course. But looking at things like the black hole information paradox, Does thinking about information intrinsically help resolve it? Does the universe's structure show signs of maximizing information integration over time? Long shots, maybe, but potentially relevant.
And the idea is that progress in one area supports the whole framework.
That's the power of consilience. If insights from neuroscience using IIT align with interpretations of quantum experiments based on RQD, it strengthens the whole picture.
So, while there are definitely philosophical parts, specific components are open to empirical testing and falsification. It's driving new kinds of questions.
Absolutely. It forces an interdisciplinary approach we haven't really seen before on this scale.
So let's try to wrap this up. Our deep dive took us through this pretty bold synthesis, reality as fundamentally one informational field.
Right, with an extrinsic side that's the physical world RQD describes through relations and interactions.
And an intrinsic side, the phenomenal experience, linked to integrated information via IIT.
And this whole view really tries to dissolve that hard line we usually draw between subjective and objective.
The physical world is the outward face of this informational unity.
And consciousness, in all its forms, is that unity looking back at itself from the inside.
It reminds me of that John Wheeler quote. We are no longer satisfied to say it is like that because that is the way nature is. We demand that everything be understood in terms of information, logic, and mathematics.
And this framework is saying to do that properly, you can't ignore the in here, the subjective experience. You have to weave the out there and the in here together.
So a final thought for you listening. How might this change your own view, your place in things? Are we just observers looking at the universe?
Or are we, maybe in a really profound sense, participants? Active parts of a cosmic conversation, maybe even, conscious cells within a vast, evolving informational organism.
It definitely gives you something to think about. The journey of trying to understand all this, it feels like it's only just getting started.